For today's project, we're going to form and pour some 2-foot by 2-foot concrete bases. These will eventually serve as the base to some decorative concrete columns that you may see in a future video. I used a scrap piece of OSB underneath my forms. That way I can secure my forms directly to the OSB and pour these right on the floor. In order to lessen the weight of these a little bit, I came up with some scrap XPS foam and a little bit of plywood. I just laid these scraps directly in the middle of the forms, and I'll pour the concrete right over top. Then once I strip the forms, I'll tip these up and pull them off the bottom. I also included about a 1-inch diameter piece of PVC in each one of these bases, just in case I decide to mount some lights on the top of these columns. Once again, I'm putting this Cobalt electric mixer to work. I'd recommend picking one up if you like to do random projects with concrete, mortar, or anything else that comes in a bag mix. Forgot to mention it earlier, but I did use some WD-40 on these forms to hopefully get them to strip a little bit easier at the end of the project. For a little bit of strength, I added some mesh once my forms were about halfway full. Just be sure you get it down into the concrete and keep it away from the edges as best you can. The outside edge of this concrete will eventually be covered in a scratch coat, so the finish is not too important. However, it is important that the top of this concrete is as level as possible, as the column itself will sit on top of this slab. As you can see, I put some duct tape over that little piece of PVC pipe in the middle, so hopefully once this concrete sets up, we'll just pull the duct tape off and we'll have a clean hole. The theory here is that these bases are going to be the heaviest part of the decorative columns. That way they can provide a little bit of stability. I did weigh these small slabs once I stripped the forms, and they weigh roughly 170 pounds each. So I don't believe we have to worry about these columns blowing away. I think this also means that before this project can progress too much further, we're going to need to move each one of these slabs onto a pallet. That way a piece of equipment other than my back can move them. The plan is for these columns to be about 4 foot tall, so we're definitely going to be adding some additional weight, and if I was to guess, each one will probably be 500 pounds. I can already think of some additional ideas that we may need to use in the future in order to lighten these columns up a little bit, but we'll save those for some future videos. I did edge and broom these, but you're never going to see the top of this concrete, so as long as your concrete's level, you can pull the forms off and you should be in good shape. I've learned you never really realize how long a project takes until you have to go back and watch it all on video. In my opinion, you can't go wrong with these Torx head screws for this type of work. You can use these things over and over majority of the time. This rigid foam works really well for stuff like this. The plywood I used on the other one, not so much. So unless plywood is all you have laying around, I would try to stick to the foam as much as possible. And there you have it. We've got some concrete bases for some future decorative concrete columns. So appreciate anybody who watches these videos, and feel free to subscribe if you want to tag along and see where this project goes. Thank you for watching.